running as Lieutenant Governor on the Republican ticket with Rob Astorino, Chris Morse, or Sheriff Morse, which you prefer.
Whichever you prefer.
Whichever one. Sheriff Chris Morse.
Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for having me this evening. My name is Chris Moss. I'm the elected sheriff in Chemung County, which is Elmira, New York. I've been the sheriff there since 2005, elected 3 times to that post, and I've been with the sheriff's office for 26 years. I'm married and have a 8-year-old son who lives in Elmira, New York. My education, I have a master's degree in public administration from Marist College. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. I am running on the Republican ticket with Rob Astorino for lieutenant governor. Rob and I have been working very hard since the Republican convention in May this spring. We've been crisscrossing the state, talking to people about the issues that we think are very important to the voters. And those issues are taxes and why they're so high, the lack of jobs and what we can do to create jobs and keep companies from leaving this state. Another one of our platform issues is corruption. We've all seen the corruption issues in Albany, and Rob Astorino thought there'd be nobody better to take to Albany than a sheriff to help him with the corruption that's in Albany. Those issues are obviously very important, and another important issue from the area where I come from is the SAFE Act and what it's done to sportsmen and hunters in upstate New York. So I think Rob really picked somebody from upstate New York to complement the Republican ticket, since he's from Westchester County and I'm from Elmira, New York, which borders the state of Pennsylvania. So I think we really have the ticket really covered when it comes to things like job creation in upstate New York might mean natural gas exploration. I can tell you, I come from an area that's very depressed right now. Our downtown is very depressed. A lot of the storefronts are empty in downtown Elmira. So jobs would be very important to create in upstate New York, but we also know it would be important to downstate New York. And probably the one question that I get asked very frequently as I crisscross this state, what's the difference between downstate and upstate? Are there a lot of differences? But you know what? At the end of the day, there's not a lot of difference. People want good paying jobs. People want lower taxes. People want to be safe in their communities and in their homes. So you know what? Universally, the issues are the same. So what we want to do is work on all those issues, and I thank you for having me, and I'll turn it over to the moderator.
Sure. I'll take the first question. I'd like to get, this question's asked before, but I'd like to get the perspective of somebody who comes from your part of the state, and that's hydraulic fracking. What is your opinion on it? Should it be allowed? Should it be limited in scope, or should it just be banned entirely?
Rob Astorino and I are for hydraulic fracking, and I will tell you why. I live in an area of the state where I've seen hydraulic fracking right across the border. So in Pennsylvania, it's legal. So when it was going to be legal in New York, we saw jobs created. Our airport was full, our restaurants and movie theaters were full. The drillers came from places like Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio, and they came waiting for Governor Cuomo to go ahead and approve it. Now, if you've noticed, Governor Cuomo hasn't said yes or no. He's just sat on the fence. And he sat on the fence so long that all of these companies have left. They're no longer in Chemung, Steuben counties in the southern tier of New York, and we saw our sales tax revenue plummet because of that. If we allowed it, we can do it safely. It's being done safely in 28 other states in America, so we can do it safely in New York. We can create tens of thousands of jobs. We can infuse millions of dollars into the economy, and with those jobs come new restaurants, roadways, and so forth. So we are both for it and hope it would happen.
I actually would have a follow-up on the question Warren just asked. What do you say to, well, first of all, you're seeing a lot of empty chairs. Most of the chairs were filled, earlier, but a lot of people here are concerned, and it was expressed about fracking, how it could, there's been some questions of safety, and it's right near the New York watershed. 8 million people in the city here rely on the water from upstate. So could you talk about that part of what fracking would possibly affect the water?
Well, certainly, if we don't do it carefully and we don't have the right regulations set in place, sure, you can contaminate water in several places in the United States. But like I said, it is being done safely in 28 states. It can be done safely in here. You have to look at where you want it. Maybe we don't want it in that area. Maybe we want it down in the southern tier and start there, down on the Pennsylvania-New York border. I know that was one thought, that it would be an 8-county test period down there. Look, we're sitting under the Marcellus Shale. Energy could be a lot cheaper for New Yorkers all across this state if we allowed hydraulic fracking. Instead, we're purchasing our energy from Pennsylvania and other companies when we could be doing it right here. It can be done safely, but obviously the water, we have to take that into consideration. And Rob Astorino and I are fully aware of where New York City gets a bunch of its water from and what contamination to the watershed up there could do.
Okay, could you answer that?
Certainly.
Sure, Mr. Morse, if you could answer the question?
If an airport or a high-speed rail would create jobs in New York State, it'd be something that we'd be open to looking at, because I think what the problem now is, we have a state government that's run by individuals who won't listen to new ideas, who won't let people come to the table and talk about new ideas, but we're open to listen to any idea that would create jobs in upstate or downstate.
Thank you, thank you. The governor recently signed legislation authorizing the creation of gambling casinos in the state. I think it was 5 or 6, and they were located in places in the state other than New York City. In New Jersey, I think it's fair to say that they've not been terribly successful. As a matter of fact, a bunch of them are now closing because there's too many. The jobs never, ever materialized. Atlantic City, which was a blighted area, remained a blighted downtown, except when you walked into the casino. So if you were serving as governor and as lieutenant governor and Rob Astorino was governor, would you be in favor of placing casinos within New York State?
First of all, casinos aren't going to answer our job problem. If we think creating 5 to 7 casinos in New York State is going to be an answer to the jobs we need good paying manufacturer jobs. It's not. Could it help our tourism? It definitely could. I'm not against casino gambling. I think the areas that the casinos are going to be put in needs to be looked at very carefully. If we can put casinos in areas that are going to help the Catskills or help a specific area, then I'm definitely open to it. But you know what? I see in New Jersey the same thing you're talking about, casinos closing, because you know what? When you have too many of anything, we don't need them all. 5 to 7 casinos may be too many. But again, casinos aren't the answer to creating jobs and keeping companies from leaving this state.
I have a question regarding the position of lieutenant governor. I'd like to know what qualifies you to step into the shoes running for New York State should the current governor either step out of the state or be incapacitated. Can you explain I understand you're a sheriff, can you explain your other background to step in as governor?
Certainly. As I already indicated, I have a master's degree in public administration from Marist. I'm currently the county sheriff in charge of a $13 million budget with 150 employees. And I can tell you as an elected official, no elected official, including the governor, is running this state on his own. You surround yourself by qualified people who know what they're doing, and you're going to be successful. So number one, I'd surround myself by qualified individuals, and obviously that would assist me. But I believe I'm fully capable of stepping in Rob Astorino's shoes should there be a reason he couldn't fulfill his obligations as governor. And I believe Rob Astorino would have never have picked me if he didn't believe the same.
During the recent budget proposals that were put forth by the governor, and I have to admit that I'm just not really familiar with some of the stuff that goes on upstate. But here in New York City, one of the controversial parts of that budget was that there were protections put in there for the co-locations of schools and for charter schools. And there was a lot of passion on both sides of that issue. Do you think that those co-location protections should have been in that budget?
I'm not familiar with the specific legislation you're referring to. When it comes to education, we will be putting out our education platform. We're not against charter schools, but I think it's very important that we make sure that children throughout New York State get a proper education. And I'll touch real quick, if you don't mind, on Common Core. That's why Rob Astorino and I are against Common Core. Common Core has teachers now teaching to a lesson plan rather than to the individual needs of a student, and I don't think we can do that. The problem is we have a cookie cutter method now of teaching our kids and teaching to this test, which some kids just don't learn as fast as others, and we know that. So Common Core isn't going to work here in New York State. It hasn't worked in other states, but education is very important, and Rob Astorino and I both realize that. Yes, sir.
We're going to have a 2-minute closing, and if I could just take 1 second. We do have another candidate here tonight, so please don't leave when Mr. Moss is finished with his closing statement. 2-minute closing.
Thank you very much. Well, again, I want to thank you for having me. As you go back home and you think and consider about who you want to vote for New York State Governor November 4th, I'd ask you to think about this. You currently have a governor who runs the state one way, his way. He's picked a lieutenant governor candidate, Kathy Hochul. These two individuals are millionaires, and there's nothing wrong with being a millionaire, but let me tell you this. Rob Astorino and I both have young children. We both have families. We know what it means to go home at night, be with your family, work hard like all New Yorkers, or the majority of New Yorkers know. Why don't we give the opportunity to two regular guys that know how to work hard to go to Albany and make some changes? Term limits, we're for term limits. You won't see us there more than 2 terms if we're lucky enough to get there January 1st of next year. To me, the answer is pretty easy. You have 2 well-qualified individuals, give them a shot, send some regular people to do our jobs in Albany instead of sending people there who are only worried about collecting money for their next election, how much power they can gain before they leave office or while they're in office. I think New York has a unique opportunity, a unique ticket this fall for governor and lieutenant governor, and we truly ask you to get on the computer, look up our qualifications, put them against our opponent's qualifications, and then you make the choice. I want to thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.